Hi, everyone. We are recording the session today so that we may share with those participants that weren't able to join us live. We encourage cameras on during the workshop, but please remain muted unless otherwise asked to unmute yourself. If you have questions for the speaker, you can put the questions into chat and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Let's go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to our virtual workshop. I'm Becky with World Strides and thank you for joining us. This evening's workshop is titled How to Nail an Audition and is hosted by Dr. Elisa Wilson. Dr. Wilson is Associate Professor of Choral Music and Voice at UTEP. Her duties include coordinating the voice area, directing the university choirs, and teaching choral conducting. Dr. Wilson holds degrees in music education and performance from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and Wichita State University, Kansas, and a doctoral degree in choral conducting and literature from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. She appears regularly as a clinician and adjudicator for El Paso area solo ensemble and choral festivals, and nationally for World Strides Heritage Festivals as a choral and vocal jazz adjudicator. We are so honored and thrilled to have you. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Dr. Wilson.
Thank you, Becky. I'm delighted to be here today. As you can see, I have a fancy PowerPoint presentation to share here with those of you who are participating. And don't forget to type any questions you might have in the chat. If you are watching this after the fact and you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me via email at ewilson@utep.edu. I'd like to preface this PowerPoint by saying that these tips for how to ace your audition are collected by me in over 30 years of experience as a singer, a high school and college teacher and musical theater director, a university voice teacher, and a voice area coordinator here at the University of Texas at El Paso. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and I can't guarantee that it will get you every role or every gig that you want. However, it's a lot of experience that I wanted to share with you. So with that preface out of the way, let's talk about what I think you need to ace an audition. What makes an audition stand out? In my mind, there are 4 C's: confidence, commitment, clarity, and contrast. So what do these mean for us? Confidence is comprised of several factors, the most important of which I will say is preparation, which is why it's last and not first. However, we all know that when we dress to kill, we feel at our best. We feel confident. So I think it's really, really important that you strongly consider what you wear for an audition. And you should know whether it's casual or formal based on the context of the audition. So if you're auditioning for musical theater, it may be more in the style of a character that you're trying to get. If you're auditioning for a university, to get into a university for scholarships, for example, you do want to dress professionally. And by formal here, I mean perhaps your Sunday best, not a full-length ball gown. Fit matters. I like to tell the anecdote. I used to think that I was one particular body type and I would dress for that body type. And in fact, I was not that body type. And so I did not look my best. And I actually did some research and some measuring and got some advice from a consultant to figure out what my personal body type was so that I could buy clothes that fit me to the best, to bring out my best. So fit matters. Guys, the hem of your pants matters. And sometimes we forget that. Ladies, same thing. If you're wearing a long dress, you don't want a pool of fabric on the floor. These little details, so important. People have asked me before, should I wear a color? Should I wear concert black? Should I wear a pattern? And what I tell people is wear what looks best on you and what makes you feel like $1,000,000. However, that being said, I would not wear patterns close to the face because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and we want to not be distracted away from your face. So solid colors are usually best, and a color that suits your skin type is the best choice. Finally, comfort in what you're wearing is so critical. I've seen so many people walk in shoes that are uncomfortable. They're either too high, they don't fit well, and this is for guys and gals. So make sure that you have something that you feel very comfortable to walk confidently and energetically in, and that you practice in. Posture, I say neutral, balanced, and aligned. Knees over ankles, hips over knees, shoulders over hips, and ears over shoulders. In our technologically challenged world right now, we spend so much time hunched over devices. We're typing, our ears are usually in front of our shoulders, we're hunched over. And so when we stand up, in fact, our habit is to round the shoulders and to collapse a bit. So it's super important to take some time to get neutral, balanced, and aligned. We'll talk about some physical warm-ups for that in a bit. But when you walk into a room, if your posture is NBA, you're going to be in a good place. You should be energized in face and body. And sometimes we rush to an audition and we're exhausted. We've been in class all day, we've been doing whatever it is we've been doing, and we don't feel energized, but we have to fake it until we make it, right? So neutral, balanced, and aligned, smile on your face, make eye contact when you walk in the room, and get your body energy behind your audition. Finally, confidence is about practice. If you have practiced thoroughly and prepared your audition thoroughly, you will feel confident. And in fact, it will be muscle memory for you to do your audition. If you will inevitably be nervous, right? Your breath will get out of whack. You'll feel stressed. But if you have practiced to the best of your ability and prepared very thoroughly, you will literally go almost on autopilot in your audition. We will talk about the elements of the audition here in the next few tiles. There are several elements. Practice each of these elements separately until they feel fluent. You can just do them automatically. They feel confident to you. Do them in order with connection and flow until they feel organic to you. And then finally, my advice to you is thorough preparation equals confidence. Commitment. Sometimes we get dragged along to an audition, but really you need to be in it to win. You have to walk in with the attitude that you know what you're doing, that they should want you, and that you have it in you to win. I encourage you to be your authentic self. What do I mean by that? I see young singers walk into a room with a persona that they put on before they sing. And that persona says, I'm an actor, I'm an actress, I must look like this, I must do that. And that's not your authentic self. You want to be who you truly are before you put on your character. Create the mood to sing your audition. Finally, perform from your why. There's a wonderful video on YouTube that you can check out. It's about 20 minutes long. It's by a man named Simon Sinek, and it's called Start with Why. And it helps you find your why for what it is that you do. My choir and I say every rehearsal, we do it because we love it. And that's the response. We do it because we love it. So passionate performance is engaging. Passionate performance that comes from your personal why is what's going to make the auditioning committee sit up and take notice of you. Clarity. We get stressed, we get nervous, we walk in, we rush, we mutter, we forget to speak clearly, and sometimes we talk really softly. I always think of that young lady in Pitch Perfect you can barely understand, and it's hysterical in that context, but it's not hysterical in an audition. It's scary. So slow down, take a couple of deep breaths with that smile on your face, enunciate clearly, Articulate in your songs clearly, and don't forget to project your voice when you speak and when you sing. Contrast. Variety is the spice of life. And most auditions will ask for variety. They'll ask you for contrasting styles. So, for example, musical theater, they might want to hear a 16-bar excerpt of a ballad and 16 measures of up-tempo. If you're a college student or even a community student and you happen to be doing student auditions for the National Association of Teachers of Singing, there will be 3 songs involved in that audition, and they are always contrasting styles. You should be very thoughtful in the choice of the pieces that you present so that you can show off your best skills and provide variety. Transitions matter. I'm going to say that several times. How you transition from one piece of the audition to the next is very, very important in achieving a confident, polished performance. So as you think about contrast, specifically, when you're going from song to song, there will be a point at which you let down the mood from one song and assume the mood or character for the next song. And the timing of that is very important and is to be practiced. Before the audition, you must prepare thoroughly. I'm going to say that again. Thoroughly. Know the who, what, where, when, why of the audition itself, because each one is different. I've referenced music theater quite a bit, but my master's degree is actually in opera performance. And so I've done quite a few opera auditions, and they usually require different languages, different styles. When I was auditioning for graduate school, I had a whole set of arias in different languages and different styles, as well as a whole set of art songs in different languages and different styles. And I would go to the website, or I would talk with the person who was running the auditions, and I would find out, what did they want to hear from me on that day? Did they want just arias? Did they want a mixture of songs and arias? Was it important to hear French versus Italian because we were doing a French opera? So really important to find out those whys. Universities, if you're auditioning for universities to be a voice major, you will go to their website and they should have that information there readily available for you so that you can scope it out and see what it is that they need to hear from you. And in any given audition cycle, if you're auditioning at, say, 5 schools, there will be some commonalities, but there will always probably be a few differences. For example, here at UTEP, Spanish is a very important language to us. We don't require it, but we recommend that students sing in Spanish. So just nice to check these things out in advance. Select music or a monologue or the attire, as I mentioned earlier, accordingly. In other words, gear it specifically to the who, what, where, when, why of the audition, right? Play to your strengths. This is very important with music. When I auditioned at Yale for the graduate program, and by the way, I did not get into Yale. I went to Wichita State for my master's, but I did go out to sing in New Haven, and that was a really great experience for me. I sang a piece that I felt showed me off to the best of my ability, and that piece is called Trouble in Tahiti. It's from a one-act opera called Trouble in Tahiti by Leonard Bernstein. And if you know West Side Story and you know the name Leonard Bernstein, you would imagine that that aria is actually sort of musical theater-ish, even though it's considered opera. And I was the last person to audition on that day, and I had heard aria after song, and nobody sang anything like Trouble in Tahiti. And I thought, maybe I shouldn't sing it. But that was what I had decided to do. And I felt that it showed my most authentic self. It showed my musical theater background and my comedic sense. It's a very funny aria, as well as my opera chops. And so I went ahead and did it. And I don't regret that. because I think, in fact, it did make them sit up. I did not ultimately win that position, but that was the song that made everybody go from here to here and to pay attention in that moment. So play to your strengths and be authentic. Study your audition material thoroughly and be prepared to answer any question. The worst moment is when a teacher asks you what the song means and you don't know. It's so awful. It's so embarrassing for both parties. And not only should you know what the meaning is, you should know the meaning of every word. If I say, what does amor mean? You should know that I'm talking about love, right? So that kind of preparation is extremely important. Practice, as I said, until your work is organic. Know it so well, be so prepared, organic. These are the elements of an audition. Notice I put the warm up in there. It is critical that you warm up for your audition. Every time I've arrived late, every time I've felt like I had to just walk on stage, I've had a horrible, disjointed experience. We'll talk about that in a moment. Warm up, entrance, that's the walking in and telling them. Then introduction, who you are. You walk in the room, you tell them who you are. You perform, that's the performance. And of course, as I said before, that depends on what you're auditioning for. Sometimes it's a monologue and some excerpts. Sometimes it's a full aria. You'll know that in advance. And then finally, your exit is critical to maintaining your aura of confidence. All right, so let's talk about this warm up. Get there early and find a safe space. And by that, I mean, where can you warm up? I've done warm ups outside in the loading dock because there was nowhere for me to do it, but it felt safe and it was reverberant and I could do it. Okay. So arrive early. Get your body going. Whatever your process is for activating your energy. I like to ski a little bit, get my lower body muscles going. I do some yoga, I do stretching, all kinds of things to get my body going. I get my breath going. So many different exercises you can use to get your breath activated. I get my voice going. I do some vocal warm-ups. And by the way, I will have warmed up before I get to the space. I warm up at home. And then I warm up again, just a teeny bit when I get there. Your vocal warm-ups that you do with your choir director or with your teacher are great. You know why you do them. Do them. Mental warm-up. I am a fan of rituals. And when I say a ritual, my ritual before every concert that I conduct is I walk backstage and I sit in a chair by myself with my music and I page through my entire show. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is the tempo. Start the piece, finish the piece, talk spot, new tempo. I do that every performance. And when I do a role in a musical, I have the same process every time. I eat the same foods every time because I know I have a weird stomach. I can only eat a power bar before I do an audition or before I do a show. I eat after. Some people eat a full meal. You know what you need to do to have your space and your body ready to sing. Finally, audiate and visualize. And I just told you that. I visualize how I want it to be, my best performance, and then I sing it through in my head. That's the art of audiation, is singing without phonating. So physical and mental warm-ups, so critical. When you walk in the room, before you even go in, you have a resting posture. We talked about it, neutral, balanced, and aligned. Get yourself in that place. Take a deep breath, blow it out. Do that 5 times so that your heart rate is calm. Walking posture, neutral, balanced, and aligned. Head up, eye contact, walk with a purpose. When we talk about pace and energy, don't walk too fast. You don't want to run in, but you don't want to saunter in as if it doesn't matter. You should have energy walking from place to place. Before you speak, breathe. Slow down. enunciate and pronounce things correctly. That is my pet peeve. If you are singing Après son rêve by Gabriel Fauré, you should know how to say that correctly. Because if you don't, it makes us wonder if you know how to pronounce the lyrics of your song. Very important. Project your voice so that we can hear you. And then this is critical. Less is more. Stay on script. And yes, I script my introductions. I had one for you today. That was this will be a lecture in PowerPoint. Type the questions in the chat. Stay on script. Performing. Breathe. Breathe. Set up a movie in your mind. There's a wonderful song from Miss Saigon about the movie in your mind. When I say movie in your mind, I'm talking about setting up the scene of the piece that you are going to sing. See it as if it's on a movie screen playing out. Put yourself in that place so you don't have to worry about your audience, those teachers. And of course, we're all writing copiously. We're not even looking at you. We're like, because we're taking notes, right? It's so disconcerting. You think they don't like you. They don't want to hear you. That is not true at all. Really, what we're saying is, what a lovely voice. I love blah, 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 blah. Okay. You focus on the movie in your mind, ignore us, and tell a story. Tell a story. Sometimes I say, think a universal sentence, right? If it's something very, very specific in a show, and sometimes you have a hard time accessing that character, think about what is universally true about that character. What is that character doing? And how do they feel about it? And send that energy into your movie. Think about projecting consistent energy to the beginning, middle, and end of songs when you're singing and when you're not. The worst is standing, 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 standing. And then all of a sudden, the beat before you have to sing, I'm a character and I'm singing. No, the piece started before the piano even began. And it will continue until the pianist stops, even if you've stopped singing. So beginning, middle, and end of the song, when you're singing and when you're not. And then, as I said, transitions matter. Transitions within a song, if you're doing a piece that has changes of mood, those transitions matter quite a bit. And also the transitions between pieces. Now, I put poise and contrast. I already spoke about contrast when I spoke about going from one mood to the next mood, that you want that to be very smooth. Remember, in an audition, you will not get applause. So you don't just stop and wait for them to go, oh, that was so good. And then you get yourself organized and you put on a new mood. No, your performance is a seamless performance that you have timed so that you end, you're happy. And then you take a breath. And then to the next thing. Okay. Poise. I say poise because sometimes you will be stopped. This is common. If they've heard enough, they will say, thank you. And by the way, that doesn't mean you did a terrible job. It may mean that they're behind schedule. It may be that they've heard all that they need to hear, or it may be that for that particular piece, they know that piece. And so they really want to hear, in the interest of time, what you have next. Should that happen, you simply take a breath, you smile, you say certainly, and you shift gears to your next transition. When you're done, no matter what happened, maintain neutral, balanced, and aligned posture. Do not allow yourself to sag. Smile. Make eye contact. Say thank you so much for hearing me today. And then you reverse your entrance with the same posture, the same energy, and the same pace. The worst is when someone finishes singing and they've had whatever happens. Sometimes I've heard someone do what I think is a perfect audition, and in their head it sucked. And so then they go, and they drop. And as they walk out of the room, they lose all of their energy. It's so sad. So always keep it right there. Finally, follow up. Now, this depends on the audition context. If you've auditioned at a university, it is a great idea to follow up and send an email to the teachers and say, thank you so much for hearing me. I really enjoyed my time at the University of Texas at El Paso. It's not brown nosing, being inappropriate. It's just it's polite, right? If someone gives you a gift, you send a card. So in this case, sending an email or a note to say thank you for your time is very appropriate, and it puts you a notch above perhaps some other folks. I don't recommend requesting feedback on your audition. Now, I put it in a question mark. It depends on your purpose. So here's an anecdote. When I was just out of undergraduate school and I thought I was going to be the next star on Broadway, I went to audition in Chicago for the musical Cats, which was running at the Schubert Theater at the time, and they had lost their Grisabella, and she's the memory cat. She's the one who sings the famous song. And she's not a dancer cat. She's just a singer cat. And I was like, I could totally do that. And I was 21 years old and I did not know what I was getting into, but it was an open casting call. So I went down to the Schubert Theater. I took the L train. I got out. I got there early. I went in the lobby and there were, you can imagine, hundreds of people. And they all had resumes. And it was exactly like all of those stereotyped auditions that you've seen in the movies where people are like, ooh, and they're standing in the corners and there are dancers like throwing their legs above their head. And it's because they were also auditioning for Rum Tum Tugger, who's the rock and roll cat. So there were all these guys with the great big long legs and super flexible. Oh, it was crazy. At any rate, I walked in and I asked some people. I'd never done an audition at that level before. And so I thought, this is my opportunity to learn. And so I went to some people who looked like they were very experienced, perhaps some older, experienced equity actors. And I asked them if I could see their resumes. And they were so kind to me. And they shared their resumes with me. And it was very apparent within 10 minutes that I absolutely had no business being there. But I was determined that I was going to do the audition so that I could learn from it and I could share my experience with you folks, right? It was, well, everybody that I heard was just so amazing, right? And I don't know that there were a lot of people like me who had no experience and just showed up. Maybe there were, but my number was called. I went backstage. All the costume racks were backstage. So yes, I got to see and touch the costumes. And then I walked out and I sang my audition on the set of Cats, the touring set. Yeah, right. It was awesome. And it was terrifying. So I took my deep breaths and I smiled and I introduced myself and I sang, and they were way back at a table, just like the movie A Chorus Line. Exactly. And they were very kind to me. But when they were done, oh, thank you so much. That was lovely. We'll be in touch, right? I sang my one song and I exited. And then the woman after me, they had her sing like 5 things because she was awesome, right? Now, I say request feedback. Do you want feedback or not? I actually wanted feedback because I did not know what I needed to do better. And so I didn't ask the people in the room, but I asked the young woman who was right after me because she heard my audition and she was really experienced. And I said, what do I need to do? And she said, okay, let's talk, right? And so she said, you should never have sung Memory from Cats at your first audition, right? They would have called that back from the show. Do something in the style of show that's not the show. Anyway, there are all these tips, none of which I have time to go into today, right? But if you're going to ask for feedback, you have to be prepared to get the honest answer, and sometimes it hurts. and it might not come across well in the professional world. So just think about whether you want to do that. It's contextual. Finally, self-reflection. You really need to think about, what did I actually do in the room? What worked? What didn't? Problem solve what didn't work for the next time, and then practice it differently. Prepare differently, practice differently. Like I said, I had prepared the wrong cut for my first audition for that Cats audition, right? I learned from that moving forward in my career. There are lots of places you can go for more information. I've listed a couple of books I love. Auditioning for the Musical Theater by Fred Silver is a cute little manual from an accompanist coach. It has lots of suggestions for sort of off-the-wall songs that most people don't do, which is always good. And it tells you how to get through an audition. The Musician's Way, a guide to practice, performance, and wellness. Super important to have good mental health as a singer. Power Performance for Singers by Shirley Emmons and Alma Thomas, both of whom are performance coaches. Finding Your Voice, a practical and spiritual guide to singing and living, is probably my favorite book. It's kind of a self-help book for singers, has lots of self-help exercises, but it really helps you figure out what your unique perspective and your unique voice is. And if you'll recall, all the way back at the beginning, I talked about being authentic. This helps you guide yourself into some of those patterns of behavior that are authentic. And then finally, Google, Siri, best friend. You can say, I need a new mezzo-soprano belter song. Google it. Hundreds of ideas and results and websites and things. So I gave you a few books, but really, Google's our friend. This is your moment. If you have any questions there in the chat, I don't know if we have any chat. I see, oh, there's one. Do you have any audition tips specific to musicians? By that, do you mean like pianists or like instrumentalists? Because yes, the process is the same. My husband is a professional bass trombonist. Get there early, have a ritual, be so prepared that you cannot possibly fail, right? Make sure you're warm, that you're, I played viola for a long time and I would have cold hands. And so I would have to get there early so that I could warm up my fingers so that I could play. If you're a brass player, you want to make sure your instrument is at the right temperature. Clarinets, woodwinds, I think are the same. So a lot of these ideas are exactly the same. Google's your friend. Find out what the requirements of the audition are. Find out who the people in the room are so that you can cater your audition to them. If you're an instrumentalist, is it an orchestral audition? You have to play excerpts. Is it, is it audition for college? They will put the repertoire list on the website so that you know what you need to prepare. My son he just finished his first year as a music major at Baylor. And so we went through this process, and he auditioned at 5 schools. Every school had a different set of audition criteria. So that was really hard for him. He had to prepare a lot of extra stuff. So I think it is really important to just do that research in advance and then just really be so thoroughly prepared that you can't fail, even if you're freaked out. You get there early, you have time to do your rituals, and then you just confidently, committedly, clearly walk in there and take the stage. Becky, do you have any questions? You're there.
Yeah, no, I think that was great. I guess one question that kind of came to my mind is, do you have any tricks or tips that work for you if you get suddenly hit with a wave of nerves? Like you've done
Yes.
it, you're well prepared, you're there, you're ready, but all of a sudden, oh, the nerves kick in.
Yes. So I'm a control freak. I'm very type A. You can probably tell that from the way that I talk. So I do controlled breathing exercises. That's one of the biggest things that I do. And I do the breathe in for 4 counts, hold or suspend my breath without locking off my vocal folds for 4 to 6 counts, and then exhaling. So it would be something like this. And I'll do that 3 or 4 times before I walk on.
Okay.
And what happens is my heart rate slows down and I can calm down. Now, I do the same thing in an audition without the gesture and without making the sound. So if I get through the song and it didn't go well, I will take that moment to inhale through my nose, hold it, and exhale. And I hope to do it at least 2 times. And you better believe I have a smile on my face. It is programmed. And then I move on. The other thing that I do is I am a very visual person. And so I visualize things, and I have this whole like gremlin on your shoulder, your angel versus your devil on your shoulder. And when I was in college and I had a voice teacher, it was always my voice teacher. And so she was either in a devil suit or she was in an angel suit. And she would talk to me. I know that sounds a little weird, but what happens is we tell ourselves these not very happy narratives. So if something goes wrong, we say, "Oh, you're terrible, you're horrible, you're the worst singer who ever was." I mean, it immediately gets global, right?
Yeah.
And so I visualize my coach, my happy person on my shoulder. And that person literally, that angel goes, "Hey, you're okay. Moving on." Because sometimes we just have to do that. So that's another little trick, in addition to the breathing, is to have that visual of someone that you love, your mentor or your supporter, to just say, "Hey, it's okay. Do the next thing."
I love that. That is wonderful advice.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I'm going to go to my last screen, I think, here. Maybe not, maybe not. Where's my last screen? Are we frozen? Oh, there it is. Thank you for attending. There's my last screen. Sincerely from me, Dr. Wilson, and from World Strides. Again, I wanted to say that I know there are many who couldn't be here at this moment, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. So please don't hesitate to contact me at ewilson@utep.edu, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson, for being here and for your wonderful advice and expert guidance on this topic. And thank you everyone who watches this in the future. The question just came up, where can we find the recording of this meeting? I will be sending it to all the directors who have participated in the virtual festivals. And so if you want to have this, just contact your director. And then if they didn't have it, they can email me and I'll get it right to them. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.